is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
This is episode 213 on the 27th of May 2020. If there is one rivalry in WWE that has dominated the year 2020, it is the one between Edge and Randy Orton. Now the question for my listeners is, who is Edge? Most of you would know who is Randy Orton. He is a popular wrestler along with the likes of John Cena, Kurt Angle, Triple H, Big Show, but Edge has not gained that much popularity as far as the fan following in India is concerned. So let me give you a glimpse. Edge, whose real name is Adam Copeland, is a wrestler from Canada. He has been part of this industry since 1999 and also been a part of great and epic matches. He was a long time partner for Randy Orton, and then he had to retire due to an injury in 2011. The greatest story of 2020 began as far as the pro wrestling world is concerned is when Edge made a return to the squared circle in Royal Rumble 2020. Further made the Royal Rumble interesting when Edge eliminated Randy Orton. Forget the fact that it was Drew McIntyre who was Mr. Royal Rumble for the year 2020. In fact, it was Edge's return which grabbed headline for a long time. Things became heated when Edge and Randy Orton met on Raw after WrestleMania, and Randy Orton injured Edge, which meant that their rivalry was heating. They were supposed to be friends. Edge had proposed Randy Orton for one last match, one last partnership, but Randy Orton turned heel, as they say. He turned heel and he injured Edge on an already bad neck. Things became even worse when the script went on as Randy Orton also hurt his wife Beth Phoenix. And then came the big match. Edge challenged Randy Orton for a no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania. Now you know this WrestleMania was broadcast without any audience. So it was a different feeling, and despite having the likes of Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Seth Rollins, Undertaker, AJ Styles, or even Braun Strowman as part of the match cards at WrestleMania, it was the Edge Randy Orton match which gained headlines. According to the WrestleMania and the WWE website, at WrestleMania 36, Edge and Randy Orton viciously brawled throughout the WWE Performance Center, pushing past the limits of most mortal competitors until the rated R superstar delivered the decisive blow. It was a last man standing, no holds barred match, and after Randy Orton failed to get up at the 10 count of the referee, Edge was declared the winner. One thought that their rivalry would come to an end, that Edge would no longer be part of the squared circle, that he would enjoy his retirement and his one match return. But no, a couple of weeks ago, in fact last week, Randy Orton once again met Edge for a promotional feature, and this gave me an inkling that maybe the WWE is planning one more match between them. Then came the caveat. Even the Viper admitted that the better man won that night, but with one major caveat, that the better wrestler didn't. Orton laid down a challenge for a true test of grappling skills in what he coined the greatest wrestling match ever. So if it was WrestleMania too big for one night, if it was the most unique Money in the Bank ladder match where the wrestlers had to race throughout the corporate building and reach the roof and grab the briefcase, now this pay-per-view Backlash, which has returned after a gap of 2 years, is now being labeled as the greatest wrestling match ever with respect to the Orton Edge rivalry. Will this be called the greatest wrestling match with respect to what happened a decade ago when Shawn Michaels and Undertaker fought, when Shawn Michaels was officially retired and never made it back to the ring? In fact, Shawn Michaels did return to the ring at a Super Showdown pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, but that is a different story. Or what about the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match, which was supposed to be the last match for Ric Flair? Or what about an Undertaker Goldberg match, which was christened Icon versus Icon? Now the interesting thing is, will the Edge Randy Orton match eclipse over the other matches, the other championship matches that are scheduled for the same pay-per-view? I'm really interested to see, will the entire focus be on this match? Will two individuals who have been part of this industry for nearly 2 decades, leaving aside the fact that Edge was absent for nearly a decade, these two individuals have been a part of this industry for nearly 2 decades, and the only individual who eclipses them as far as spending more time in the wrestling ring as a wrestler, as an administrator, is Triple H, along with Shawn Michaels, who also spent nearly 25 years as far as spending time in the wrestling ring is concerned. Would it be a one-all situation, knowing the fact that Edge defeated Orton in a last man standing match? Would it now be in the favor of Orton, because a lot of former wrestlers have put their money literally and metaphorically on Orton, knowing that he is a third generation wrestler? But this is not the first time we will ever see this label of the greatest wrestling match ever. Let me tell you that there are a couple of wrestlers, especially the wrestlers who are regular in the ring, unlike Edge, who could pronounce this as his last match ever. But with these wrestlers, one never knows how much they want to continue, what the state of their injury is. So as the match happens, I will bring you my analysis on the week following this pay-per-view. Let's see what Orton and Edge had to say to each other. Orton once again said Edge is not the superior wrestler, and he said he'll prove that at Backlash in a traditional wrestling match. Randy Orton also claimed that Edge didn't accept the challenge because he saw doubt in his eyes. But now the fact that the match is official, it has been labeled as the greatest wrestling match ever, all focus will be on these two pro wrestlers. But for me, it will not dilute the wrestling matches that are to follow. This is not the first time two wrestlers who were once part of a faction or who were friends as in tag team partners, then they had a falling out, they moved on to their own single careers instead of being a tag team. This is not the first time that this has happened, and this will continue to happen. So why the focus so much on Edge and Randy Orton? Is it a subtle indication that this could be the last time we see even Randy Orton in the ring, knowing that he wasn't a part of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, knowing that he was eliminated by Edge at WrestleMania, knowing that he hasn't got title opportunities till today? It indeed is a curious situation, or it could be the other way around. After they settle this match, it could be seen that Randy Orton may get a title opportunity at the WWE World Championship against the winner of the WWE World Championship title match at the same Backlash. So it's going to be very interesting as to how this match has further implications. Is there any other rivalry which could match the Edge Randy Orton friendship turned rivalry? Well, if Roman Reigns returns to the ring, then his rivalry with Seth Rollins should be the highlight reel of the WWE if Roman Reigns were to return to the ring. While I will talk more about this Orton Edge rivalry in the coming episodes, let's take a look at some of the title matches that are scheduled for this pay-per-view. The first one, as always, is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now we know that Drew McIntyre has defended his WWE Championship once since winning it at WrestleMania after winning the Royal Rumble event. In fact, it was a double victory for him when at Royal Rumble, if you remember, I had said that he eliminated Brock Lesnar, then he defeated Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, shocking everyone, kicking out of a couple of F5s and German suplexes, and then he faced Seth Rollins at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view event where he defended his title successfully, but now he has a formidable opponent. It's time for a short break. Welcome back after the break. In fact, he has an opponent who once upon a time, in fact just couple of years ago, this wrestler was his partner. Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre till 2 years ago prided themselves on breaking the Shield. These three had teamed up together to defeat the Shield, though whether they were a success or a failure is not part of this story. Just like there was a brand versus brand rival match between Corbin and McIntyre, now there is a match between two former partners. So who is this partner who will face Drew McIntyre and challenge him for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? It's none other than Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, according to me, has been waiting for a long time to return like McIntyre in mid 2018. And since then, he has been going on about winning matches and making sure that he gets a title opportunity. And now the opportunity knocks at his door. He's found a manager in MVP. Yes, there is a wrestler named MVP, Montel Vontavious Porter. due respect to Rollins and Lesnar, Lashley could be the toughest opponent McIntyre faces. Lashley matches McIntyre strength for strength, move for move, and McIntyre could be in for a match which will be a difficult one to overcome, especially with MVP on the sidelines. Remember, MVP is playing the role of what Paul Heyman has been doing for Brock Lesnar for a while. So will the interference of MVP, will his presence outside the ring have an effect on how the McIntyre Lashley match goes? I will discuss this in detail once this pay-per-view comes to an end. Though looking at how WWE is promoting its wrestlers, there could be a factor that maybe Lashley wins this, and then at SummerSlam McIntyre gets another chance to wrestle back the title from Lashley. Or it could be a possibility that the Lashley McIntyre feud will not finish at this pay-per-view and it could go on for a while. In fact, it could match the Rock John Cena rivalry. If you remember, I had said in my last episode regarding the Money in the Bank pay-per-view that the Rollins McIntyre match was in fact a rival to the Cena Rock match, but add this guy, it could be a possibility that somewhere in the future there could be a triple threat match between Lashley, Rollins and McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And we know that Rollins has a backup in Austin Theory and Murphy. And on the other side, Bobby Lashley has a backup in MVP. So it will be a very interesting situation that if the WWE officials finally say that let's have a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But will this happen or not? At this point, it is an unknown factor. But the McIntyre Lashley match could be a more gripping match than what was between McIntyre and Lesnar, where Lesnar by his demeanor looked tired and he wanted a break, and Rollins, who despite all his mind games couldn't get through and win the title back. Now remember, Rollins has been projected as this leader. In the last couple of months, he has been given this leadership position, very similar to a decade ago as to what was the authority. Between 2008 and 2016, there was this faction formed, the authority, which consisted of Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and as well as Kane. But that is a different story. This is the present, and as far as the thing goes, Rollins has been projected in this negative role as this leader. Now it will be very interesting as to how this role is curated and cultivated, how this role is given even a more bigger stage. It will be a very interesting situation as to how this carries out. But till the time this happens, we have to wait, and I shall talk more about the Rollins leadership upliftment or the leadership push that he has been given over the past couple of weeks. Now on the extreme end, there is another champion waiting to defend his championship, and this is the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. And if you remember, I had talked about this, that like McIntyre, Strowman defeated another legend in Goldberg and then successfully defended his title against his former partner in Bray Wyatt. And now he is in a unique situation. he won't defend his title against one wrestler, but it will be a 2-on-1 handicap match versus a tag team. If you remember, John Morrison had returned last year to partner Miz after Miz's misadventures with Shane McMahon, his match against Bray Wyatt. And now they are challenging Braun Strowman for a 2-on-1 handicap match for the World Universal Heavyweight Championship. And this might be a tough proposition for Braun Strowman because despite his strength and his power, he will be against two individuals who are very good, flexible as far as their wrestling moves are concerned, and a 2-on-1 attack has never worked in the favor of a wrestler. In fact, this 2-on-1 handicap match is a very unique situation. They could have easily made it into a triple threat match and see as to how Miz and Morrison could have teamed against each other, but they went for a different one. They decided to team Miz and Morrison. They decided to keep this partnership going for a while, and therefore this 2-on-1 handicap match, and it will be a very interesting situation. Now, another championship match that is taken a different turn is for the Raw Women's Championship. If you remember in my last episode when I talked about the Money in the Bank ladder match, which was labeled as the most unique Money in the Bank ladder match, Becky Lynch had to forfeit her title due to personal reasons, and Aska had won the briefcase, which did not contain a contract. In fact, it contained the very title which they were fighting for. So Aska, by default and by some luck, became the Raw Women's Championship. But now she has a formidable opponent on hand. In fact, in the last episode of Raw, Charlotte Flair, who is the NXT Women's Championship, Natalya and Nia Jax had faced off in a triple threat match, and the winner of this match would go on to face Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Well, since Charlotte already has a NXT Women's title match scheduled, so they maybe did not want her to win exactly, though it was being put in that manner. So after a brutal assault and after a match which was epic, Nia Jax gets another opportunity after she could not make it through the Money in the Bank ladder pay-per-view. So it is Nia Jax versus Asuka, and it will be a very interesting match. Nia Jax's height and power versus Asuka's flexible moves and her submission versus power. So far, these are the matches that are scheduled at this pay-per-view. If any more matches are added over the next couple of weeks, I will talk about those as well. There are a few rumors as to what other matches could take place, but until they become official, I will keep my listeners apprised, and you will know about the next couple of matches that could be scheduled. This ends episode number 213 on the 27th of May 2020. A very special episode is coming your way this Friday, as noted author Ketan Bhagat will sit down with me and have a freewheeling chat on script writing as well as novel writing. There will be a lot of discussions, so don't forget to join me on Friday at 7 p.m. and listen to that very, very special episode as your host engages in a freewheeling discussion with Ketan Bhagat.
For more awesome content, tune in to the next episode of The Weekly Show with Aditya.